She limped into the diner at dawn, cheeks bruised, voice barely a whisper. "He took my brother," she said. Moments later, 250 bikers pushed back their chairs in unison standing, before the cops even moved. That morning, an entire town learned what real brotherhood looked like. Before we start the story, tell us wherever you're watching from. Tell us in the comments. What touched you most in this story? Willow Creek, Arizona, was the kind of dusty desert town where nothing moved fast except storms and rumors. At the edge of Main Street sat Red Spur Diner, a small place known for its sourdough pancakes and the morning gatherings of the Iron Valor Motorcycle Club, one of the most respected biker crews in northern Arizona. Their founder, Grant Forge Halden, a broad man with silver in his beard and a quiet, unshakable presence, sat with his club every sunrise, discussing charity rides, veteran support, and town issues long before any council meeting considered them. That morning, the door chimed softly. A young woman, maybe 20, small frame, walking with a limp, stumbled inside. Her clothes were dusty, her eyes red-rimmed from crying, and her hands shook as she reached for the nearest booth. Forge noticed instantly. He stood, approached her gently. "Miss, you all right?" She tried to speak, but emotion strangled her voice. After a trembling breath, she whispered words that froze the entire diner. "Please, someone help me. He took my brother." In that moment, Forge knew breakfast was over and something much darker had begun. Forge guided the girl to a seat, sliding her a glass of water. The club gathered clothes, men and women in leather vests, their patches stitched with places like Flagstaff, Sedona, and Winslow. "Start slow," Forge said calmly. "Tell us your name." "Lena," she whispered. "Lena Caffrey." Her voice trembled as she continued. "My brother, Jasper. He's only 16. Several bikers exchanged glances. 16 was a child. Lena clenched the water glass. "A man, Caleb Burrow, he took him last night. Said Jasper owed him money from working at his garage. But Jasper never owed him anything. Caleb's just..." Her jaw tightened. "He's cruel." Forge's expression hardened. Caleb Burrow was a name known in Willow Creek, a volatile mechanic with a history of fights, intimidation, and connections to small-time drug runners in Prescott. The local sheriff had tried dealing with him before, but lacked manpower and political backing. "Where did he take your brother?" Forge asked. Tears streaked down Lena's dirty cheeks. "His old trailer near Canyon Ridge. I tried to get him back. He hit me and chased me off." She held her ribs. "I think he plans to hurt him." The room went dead quiet. Every fork, every cup, every low conversation faded. The Iron Valor didn't tolerate violence against women, and they sure didn't tolerate grown men hurting kids. Forge placed a steady hand on Lena's shoulder. "You did the right thing coming here." She shook her head. "I went to the sheriff first, but they only have 3 deputies on duty today. They said they'd check the area when they could." The club stiffened. That meant hours, maybe longer. Forge looked at Lena as if weighing something heavy. "Lena, did anyone else see what happened?" She shook her head. "No, it was dark. Jasper screamed for me to run. I haven't seen him since." Forge straightened slowly, breath deep, expression shifting from gentle to steel. "They were not waiting for anyone." He turned to his club. "Saddle up." Chairs screeched back. Boots thudded. Engines outside rumbled awake like thunder building behind the mountains. Forge spoke one last time to Lena. "You lead us to that trailer. We handle the rest." And for the first time since she walked in, Lena exhaled in relief. As Lena climbed into the passenger seat of Forge's truck, her injuries too severe for a bike. The Iron Valor bikers formed up behind them. More engines joined from nearby streets as members received the emergency call. Within minutes, nearly 250 riders created a sweeping formation stretching across Main Street like a river of steel. At Leather, residents stepped outside, startled. In Willow Creek, a mobilization of that size meant something serious. Forge spoke into his calm. "No chaos, no property damage, no escalation unless necessary. We retrieve the kid and protect the girl. That's all." The club answered in unified affirmations. They respected the law. They didn't play vigilantes, but they also didn't sit idle while a child was in danger. Lena pointed shakily toward the desert ridge. "Caleb's trailer is past that bend." Forge nodded, hands steady on the wheel. "We're with you." Dust curled under tires. The long column of bikes followed the truck through the outskirts of town past weathered barns, dry creek beds, and abandoned sheds toward the ridge where danger waited. The sun climbed higher, lighting the desert in stark gold. The rescue had begun. Caleb Burrow's trailer sat crooked on a patch of dead weeds. Metal siding rusted from years of neglect. An old Mustang shell lay half buried beside it. Windows shattered, hood missing. Lena trembled as they approached. "That's his place." Ford scanned the surroundings. No movement. No signs of Jasper. But a heavy padlock hung crooked on the trailer door freshly thrown. He motioned to riders, Flint and Marla, to circle the rear quietly. The rest formed a perimeter at a respectful distance. They weren't storming anything yet. Ford knocked loudly. Silence. He knocked again. A rusted blind shifted. Caleb's voice cut through. "I don't want trouble." Ford kept his tone calm, then opened the door. "Not till the cops get here," Caleb shouted. Lena's voice cracked. "Where's my brother?" A scraping sound echoed inside, something heavy being dragged. Ford's eyes sharpened. "Caleb, open the door now." Instead, a shotgun clicked behind the metal wall. The entire club tensed. Ford stepped back, raising a hand. Nobody moves. Behind his calm voice, a fire ignited. Jasper was alive, but time was running dangerously short. Inside the trailer, Caleb's voice wavered, part anger, part panic. Ford recognized the sound. It was the tone of a man cornered by his own mistakes, not a hardened criminal. That made Caleb even more unpredictable. Ford called out again, louder this time. "Caleb, you're outnumbered by men who don't want to fight. But we will get that kid one way or another." The trailer creaked. Something thumped inside. Lena grabbed Ford's sleeve. "That's Jasper. I know his voice." Ford nodded, eyes narrowing. "Caleb, listen carefully. The law is on its way. But we're here now. You open this door peacefully, and you walk away breathing. You keep that shotgun pointed, things won't end well." From behind the thin metal walls, Caleb barked, "He owes me. The boy took parts from my garage. That's theft." Ford's response was cold. "He's 16. Kids make mistakes. Nothing justifies what you did to her or him." Flint returned from the back. Forge, windows cracked open, the kids tied up near the sink. Forge's jaw tightened. "All right, no more talk. We're getting him out." Forge signaled the club into formation. Nobody rushed. Nobody spook him. Two riders moved toward the back window, careful not to step on brittle debris that might alert Caleb. Lena stood trembling beside the truck, hands pressed to her mouth. "Please, just save him." Ford placed a steady hand on her shoulder. "We're gonna bring him out alive." The plan was simple. Distract Caleb at the front while Flint and Marla slipped in through the cracked rear window. Ford stepped up to the locked door again. "Caleb," he called, lowering his voice, "you're not thinking straight. You hurt this kid. Your life is over." Caleb shouted something incoherent. A bottle shattered inside. Then silence. Flint's voice crackled over the comm. "We're in position. Can see the boy, wrists tied, gagged, scared but conscious." Ford inhaled deeply. "On my signal." He knocked once, loud. Caleb snarled back. "I told you back off." Ford gave the signal. 3 seconds later, the soft pop of the rear window lifting broke the standoff. Flint and Marla slipped inside like shadows. The rescue had begun. From the front, Ford kept Caleb's focus. "Talk to me, Caleb. How long's Jasper been inside? Is he hurt?" Caleb's voice came shaky this time, not angry. He shouldn't have taken from me. That boy's been trouble. Then let him out." Ford replied, "You're making things worse for yourself." Inside, Flint crawled across a filthy linoleum floor toward Jasper, a thin kid with duct tape across his mouth. Marla scanned the cluttered counter for anything that could trigger Caleb's panic. A second shotgun lay near the sink. She slid it away silently. Outside, the bikers held formation, standing tall, calm, disciplined. Town folks drove by slowly, watching from a distance, astonished to see 100 men and women guarding a single trailer like it was sacred ground. Flint whispered into comms, cutting the ropes. A muffled yelp escaped Jasper. Caleb spun at the sound. What was that? Ford stepped closer to the front door. voice sharp. Everyone's okay, Caleb. Don't do anything stupid. But the thud of feet inside told Forge one thing clearly: Caleb had discovered the breach. Chaos erupted inside the trailer. Caleb lunged toward Jasper, but Flint blocked him, grabbing the man's arm. The shotgun Caleb held fired into the ceiling, blasting insulation across the room. Lena screamed from outside. Forge charged the door. Now, Marla pushed Jasper through the back window into the arms of waiting riders. They carried the boy toward Forge's truck as he sobbed into their vests. Inside, Caleb and Flint grappled in the smoky, dust-filled air. The trailer rocked violently. Forge rammed the front door with his shoulder once twice, splintering the lock. On the third hit, it burst open. Caleb swung wildly with the butt of the shotgun. Forge dodged, grabbed Caleb's shirt collar, and pinned him against the counter. The man thrashed, spitting curses. He stole from me. Forge forced his forearm between Caleb's arms, locking him still. You kidnapped a child. Outside, cheers erupted. The boy was safe. The fight drained out of Flint's limbs as backup rushed in, dragging Caleb to the floor. Forge breathed hard, steadying himself. It's over, he said. And finally it was. Deputies arrived 10 minutes later, sirens echoing across the ridge. They stepped out of their cruisers wide-eyed, confronted by a wall of 250 bikers forming a protective semicircle around Lena and Jasper. Deputy Marshal Reeves approached Forge cautiously. We got a call. Didn't expect, well, all this. Forge motioned toward the trailer where Caleb was zip-tied on the floor, guarded by 2 bikers. He kidnapped a minor, assaulted the girl, pulled a shotgun on us. You'll find enough evidence in there to keep him off the streets for a long time. Reeves nodded respectfully. Appreciate the assist. Well, take it from here. Jasper clung to Lena, tears soaking her shirt. I thought he was gonna kill me, he whispered. She held him tighter. You're safe now. Forge knelt beside them. You to ride back with us. We'll get you checked by medics and make sure you have somewhere safe tonight. Reeves looked at the massive formation behind Forge. Never seen a town protect its own like this. Forge glanced at his club. We protect the vulnerable. Always. And the long ride home began. The convoy back to Willow Creek moved slowly, Forge's truck leading. Jasper wrapped in a blanket beside him, Lena riding in the back seat, clinging to her brother's hand as if letting go might undo the rescue. Behind them, 250 bikers rode in absolute silence, engines low and steady, escorting the siblings like they were royalty. Locals stepped outside as the procession passed, confusion melting into awe. Nobody had ever seen the Iron Valor move like this unless a veteran's coffin was involved. At the clinic, medics rushed out to assess the siblings. Jasper had bruises on his ribs, rope burns on his wrists, dehydration from being locked overnight. Lena had a cracked rib from Caleb's strike. The doctor shook his head. If you hadn't reached him this morning, kid wouldn't have lasted another day. Lena's breath hitched. Forge placed his large hand gently on her shoulder. You saved him by coming to us. You hear me? You saved him. Jasper looked up timidly. Sir, who are you people? Forge smiled softly. Just riders who believe no kid gets left behind. News of the rescue traveled faster than desert wind. Within hours, stories circulated across town. 200 bikers surrounded a trailer. A boy pulled from a madman. A girl found bruised, but brave. By noon, Willow Creek buzzed like it hadn't in years. Sheriff Markham finally arrived at the clinic, adjusting his belt nervously as he approached Forge. Heard you. Handled a dangerous situation out there. Forge didn't flinch. We prevented a murder. Deputies showed up, took custody peacefully. Markham nodded, though embarrassment flickered in his expression. My department should have been faster. Kids should never fall through cracks like that. Forge's tone softened. Then fix the cracks, Sheriff. Inside the clinic, Lena sat close to Jasper, brushing his hair back while nurses cleaned his wounds. You should have seen them, Jasper said shakily. They came like an army. For us. Lena blinked back tears. They didn't even know us. Didn't matter, a voice said from the doorway. It was Marla, arms crossed, expression warm. Some things don't require knowing. Some things only require choosing, and the Iron Valor had chosen them. That evening, Forge invited Lena and Jasper to the Iron Valor Clubhouse, a refurbished feed store. on the outskirts of town with murals, workshop tools, and flags from charity rides lining the walls. The moment the siblings entered, bikers greeted them with nods, soft waves, and gentle "you're safe here" smiles. Jasper's eyes widened. "You guys, fix this whole building?" Brick, the club's mechanic, ruffled the kid's hair. "Built it from concrete up, little man. Brotherhood does its own construction." Lena hesitated near the entrance, overwhelmed. "I don't know why you're doing all this." Forge turned toward her. "Because cruelty grows when people turn away." "We don't turn away." The club prepared food: grilled chicken, stew, cornbread. Jasper ate like he hadn't in days. Lena watched him, relief softening her features. As night settled, Forge sat with her on the porch. "Caleb's done. He'll face charges. You won't ever deal with him again." Lena stared at the desert horizon. "I've never had anyone fight for us like this." Forge looked at her gently. "You have an army now, but safety was only half the challenge." When Forge asked where they lived, Lena hesitated. "We don't have a home right now. Our landlord locked us out last week. Jasper was trying to do odd jobs to help us get by." Forge's jaw tightened. Poverty had forced Jasper straight into Caleb's path. "You're not going back to the streets," he said firmly. Lena opened her mouth to argue, but Forge stood and walked inside. Everyone to the briefing room. Riders gathered instantly. Forge addressed them like a commander at dawn. "Lena and Jasper need stability now. A safe place to live. School support for the boy. Medical coverage, groceries, protection." Eyes hardened with purpose. Brick raised a hand. "We can convert that storage room behind the shop into a living space. Plumbing's already halfway there." Marla added, "I'll handle school paperwork. Kid deserves a fresh start." Sawyer, the treasurer, nodded. "We'll fund the refurbish. Full renovation." Lena overheard from the doorway, tears streaming silently. She'd expected rescue. She never expected rebuilding. The Iron Valor didn't save people halfway, they saved them fully. At sunrise the next morning, construction began. Riders hauled lumber, sheetrock, wiring, flooring, everything needed to transform the dusty storage room into a warm, livable apartment. Jasper watched wide-eyed as a sea of leather vests worked like seasoned craftsmen. Brick let the boy hold a drill. "Keep it steady, yeah. Like that." Jasper grinned for the first time since the rescue. Inside, Marla and the others painted the walls a dusty blue, the kid's favorite color. Lena walked in, hand over her mouth, overwhelmed by the noise, the laughter, the unity. Forge stepped beside her. "Won't be fancy, but it'll be safe. A bed for each of you. A lock that only you control. Hot water. Fridge stocked. No bills." Lena shook her head. "Why? Why would you do this for strangers?" Forge looked at her steadily. "You came for help. That makes you ours. And Iron Valor takes care of their own." She swiped tears from her cheeks. "I don't know how to repay this." Forge smiled. "You don't. Just heal. Keep that kid safe. We'll handle the rest." By evening, the new apartment was nearly finished. A small kitchenette gleamed under warm lights. The beds faced opposite walls, and a donated rug lay in the center, soft, clean. Nothing like the stained floor Lena and Jasper had slept on for weeks. When Brick flicked on the final light fixture, the whole room glowed. Jasper gasped, This is ours." Marla crouched to his level. "It's yours. No more running." Lena stepped inside, touching the smooth counter with trembling fingers. "This feels like a dream." Forge leaned against the doorway. "Dreams don't build themselves. People do." Outside, the riders gathered in the courtyard as the desert sky darkened into indigo. Stars appeared one by one, the Arizona night settling warm on their shoulders. Jasper ran out, showing off the key Forge had placed in his palm. "We have a home, Lena." She wrapped her arms around him, crying softly. Forge watched with a quiet satisfaction. Saving the boy was one thing. Giving him a life worth living, that was the real victory. And they weren't finished yet. 2 days later, the Iron Valor hosted a community gathering at the clubhouse. Word of the rescue and the transformation spread across Willow Creek. Teachers came. Neighbors came. Even the sheriff arrived to thank the club publicly. Forge didn't care about attention, but he cared about impact. Jasper stood nervously at the front beside Lena and Marla, who helped him prepare a small speech. The boy's voice cracked at first. Thank you for saving me, and for helping my sister, and for giving us a place to live." His eyes glistened. "I thought nobody cared about us anymore." A ripple of emotion passed through the crowd. Forge placed a steady hand on Jasper's shoulder. "You matter, both of you." Then something unexpected happened. Townspeople raised their hands to help. A grocer offered weekly deliveries. A retired teacher volunteered tutoring. A carpenter promised to fix the old bikes Jasper wanted to rebuild. Lena stared around, speechless. Forge leaned down. Sometimes people want to help, they just need someone brave enough to ask first. For the first time in years, hope surrounded the siblings from every direction. That night, Forge found Lena sitting on the clubhouse steps, staring at the dessert with quiet reflection. "You holding up?" he asked. She nodded slowly. "I'm trying." Everything happened so fast. Forge sat beside her. When life breaks people, it usually happens fast. Fixing them takes longer. But we've got time. Lena exhaled shakily. "Jasper talked about joining your youth mentoring rides. Says he wants to learn motorcycle repair." Forge smiled. "Rick already has a spot saved for him." The kid's sharp. She hesitated, voice soft. "I spent years trying to protect him. Felt like I kept failing." Forge shook his head. "You didn't fail. You survived. You kept him alive long enough for help to find you." Lena swallowed hard. Do you think people can start over? For real? Every day?" Forge said. "Starting over isn't rare. Believing you deserve it, that's the hard part." The dessert wind swept past them, gentle as a whispered promise. For the first time, Lena believed maybe, just maybe, her life was allowed to change. Over the next week, Jasper flourished. He followed Brick around the garage like a shadow, learning tools, handling parts, asking questions that made seasoned mechanics chuckle. Brick handed him an old carburetor. "Want to know a secret? Machines don't respond to strength, they respond to patience." Jasper nodded like it was sacred wisdom. Meanwhile, Lena helped Marla with clubhouse bookkeeping, simple tasks at first, then more complex ones. Her confidence grew. Every step forward felt like reclaiming pieces of a life stolen by fear. But the biggest shift happened when Caleb Burrow's court date approached. The sheriff assured Lena that charges kidnapping, assault, unlawful detention were strong. "You won't have to face him alone," he promised. The Iron Valor confirmed that with their presence. On the day of the hearing, the courthouse parking lot filled with nearly 200 patchback riders standing silently beside Lena, not threatening, supporting. Judges and lawyers stared in awe. Jasper squeezed her hand. "We're safe now, right?" Lena nodded. "Yeah, baby, we're safe." Caleb was denied bail on the spot. Justice for once fell swift. A month after the rescue, the Iron Valor held a small dedication ceremony outside the newly finished apartment. The club installed a metal plaque beside the door reading, "Protected by Iron Valor. Family by choice." Lena cried the moment she saw it. Jasper ran his fingers over the engraved letters, grinning ear to ear. Forge addressed the small group. What happened here wasn't about making noise. It wasn't about reputation. It was about a boy in danger, a sister fighting alone, and a town learning what unity looks like. The riders nodded quietly. Lena stepped forward, her voice steady. "You didn't just save us. You gave us a chance to live without fear. I'll never forget that." Forge tipped his head. "Just promise to tell the next scared kid that someone out there cares." Jasper raised his hand eagerly. "I will." Laughter rippled through the group. As the sun dipped over Willow Creek, engines rumbled to life one by one. The Iron Valor rolled out together, leaving behind a rebuilt home, a rebuilt family, and a new beginning forged from courage. If this story moved you, remember, brotherhood isn't patches or engines. It's showing up when someone whispers for help. Stay with us for more real stories of courage and compassion. Like, subscribe, and tap the bell so you never miss the next ride.